So I'm here today out in my favourite, well, it's not my favourite, it's my local patch, Moor in Galway, just outside Galway City by a few miles. And I said I would share a video today with you guys about the Canon R5C camera, which, believe it or not, I have in my backpack. And in case you don't believe me, let me open my low pro bag here and show you. It's in the back. That is the Canon R5C, and I've got this, believe it or not, for 2 weeks, and I've never in my life got a camera that I've used less at the start, for the simple reason that I haven't really got any cards for it yet. It's a long story, but let's just say I'm holding out for a few nice cards from Angel Bird, so hopefully they'll arrive soon. So that's it, that is the R5C, and I bought that camera recently, and in this video I'll probably share with you some reasons, some weird reasons, some reasons that you don't hear every day, why I went for this camera, and why perhaps you should as well. So let's get on with the day. It's a nice day for a walk, and I need some exercise. It's nice to see the sun coming out a little bit. One reason that I got myself the R5C camera is, and this is a reason that a lot of people forget about, it's a brilliant photography camera. It is 100% dedicated photography camera. The only difference between this and the R5 is that this doesn't have in-body stabilization. But that really doesn't matter a whole lot with photography when you're using stabilized lenses. In fact, even if you don't have stabilized lenses, it may not always matter. It depends on the type of photography you're doing. If you're doing wildlife and sports stuff, having in-body stabilization will always be better. But for your average, for most photography, the stabilization in the lens will be plenty. So I just need that second option, because about a third, well, maybe not a third, about a quarter of the work I'm doing now is photography. And I found myself struggling a little bit not having two Canon bodies. It just was kind of catching me out. So I felt like just having two of the same bodies, and it doesn't make sense then to have two R5s when you have the option of getting the R5C. It just makes complete sense to get the R5C when you already have the R5. Now I know there's a lot of disadvantages. I noticed the other day when I was shooting a gig, the inconvenience of not being able to record a video clip when you're in photography moment is huge. So I noticed that straight away. It almost feels like you're kind of damaging the camera when you have to constantly switch over and back between photo and video, because it's a bit of a big deal for the camera. It takes about 7 seconds. I want to actually rig the camera and use it more as a sort of a tripod camera and get myself away from doing handheld shots, because all of my videos now are shot mostly with handheld, just the camera on its own. And even though that's a great way to shoot, it's incredibly efficient and you can get some lovely moving shots, but I do want to sort of go back to using a slightly bigger camera setup, plus the optics as well. Just having a bigger rigged camera, sometimes on corporate gigs, it just looks a little bit more impressive. I've been noticing when I share stuff on social media that every time I'm sharing myself shooting a video, it's just the DSLR style body, and it looks like I'm sort of a little bit casual about it. So having a more rigged camera without the in-body stabilization as well is kind of going to suit me well, and plus I have the R5 to go with it for the little handheld shots. So that's what it's going to be all about for me, having a rigged version of the camera and then a sort of a handheld version for those other quick shots. But that is another reason. Now we're going to get coffee here, I think. I really enjoy walking down this little road. It's a very tranquil back road and it doesn't get that much traffic. You get the odd person walking, maybe a few people jogging, but it's quite good in there for bird watching. And the R5 has been fantastic for bird photography. I think it's been really good. The 45 megapixel sensor and the autofocus, the eye autofocus in video has been fantastic as well. I've also even used the F11, believe it or not, 800mm lens. And I've been able to get handheld video with that lens with the R5. A big reason that I'm sort of drawn to the R5C is the thought of doing wildlife videos in 8K RAW Having that great dynamic range in RAW, having that crispness, that resolution, of course, being able to crop in and resize, reframe, but also to be able to shoot in 60 frames per second, because with wildlife, high shutter speeds is a good thing. Now, if money wasn't an object, I would bypass the R5C completely and get myself a V-Raptor and get amazing slow motion. But for now, I think that the R5C is probably one of the best wildlife cameras out there in terms of resolution and detail. You don't always see that. You don't always see sheep and cattle sharing the same patch, do you? The light keeps changing. About 30 seconds ago there was a lovely little shaft of sunlight just coming through there, so I chose to sit down here. I damaged the magnetic ring. I dropped it a few times, just the ring, not the camera, and now it sort of falls off a bit easier. I would safely say that if you're getting an ND filter, don't get a two-part ND filter that's magnetic. It's just they keep falling off. Plus, you'll find yourself at the edge of it all the time, as in at the end of it on bright days where it doesn't give you enough ND, and you'll find yourself wanting to get the stronger ND and put that on. And when you put the stronger ND on, it's not bright enough. There's that sort of dead area in between the two NDs. This is a 2:5 and it has a 6:9, and there's a gap in between in which that's the bit you need. So I'm going to get an ND from about, I don't know, 3-stop to 9-stop. That's it, one ND. For me, one of the major reasons I kind of stuck with the R5 system and got myself an R5C is because of the RF lenses. I have the RF 24-70. That is the main sort of workhorse lens in which you will use. 24-70 is one of the best ranges. Practically every movie you've watched, nearly every scene has been within the range of 24-70 on a full frame equivalent, okay? On a Super 35, like cinema camera, would be like 17-50 or something like that. But the 24-70 will do pretty much everything. That is an expensive lens, but it was worth it. I just love that lens. The 15-35 is also a great lens, and I really like it. It's on the R5 at the moment. When I've been shooting video jobs with two cameras, it's been really frustrating not being able to use both of these lenses. Instead of using this 24-70, I've been using the 24-105 on the Panasonic S1. Now that's a great camera, don't get me wrong, I like it, but I just think that this lens has the edge on it, especially with the 2.8 aperture. That is a reason for me to get this camera, is just to kind of use up that RF glass that I have. Now if you look at the light coming through the trees here, it's absolutely fabulous in the way it's catching the trunks of the sycamore trees in this lovely stretch of woodland, and it looks really kind of cinematic, to use a very current word, which is used way too much if you ask me. But it leads me on to a reason in which I sort of wanted the R5C as well. It's a cinema camera and it doesn't have in-body stabilization, and I'm perfectly cool with that. There's been applications in which I wanted not to have that. Okay, I'm getting hit by the sun now. But just, I want to shoot more, movie content, and I want to have a cinema camera. And to have that cinema menu, that same interface that comes with the Canon Cine camera lineup, that's just powerful. So that's a big reason for me. And I have the R5, I have the in-body stabilization if I want it. But just to have this extra option that's slightly different, slightly more professional in terms of video and cinema. So that's a big one for me. And hopefully I'll come up with some movie ideas, because I've sort of taken the foot off the gas with that stuff. And that's the reason we all get into this in the first place. We want to make movies, but we end up making YouTube videos and vlogs and reviews and the likes, which is also fun. But it's not really pushing us in terms of storytelling, in directing, in creating an atmospheric movie. So that's definitely something I want to do. Maybe I'll come out here and make a horror movie, and maybe I'll, get it to go viral again, like my old movie. Remember that I have a film on YouTube here that has almost 4 million views, and that was shot on a Canon 60D. I had no equipment, no lights. I had only one or two little cheap enough lenses. Different world, almost 10 years ago. And now look at me, R5C in the back here. So let's hope I shoot some nice creative content with it. So that's sort of all the reasons really I went for the R5C. I know this isn't a very technical review, but there's plenty of those on YouTube if you want to watch them. This is just a casual video coming from a fond R5 user. A camera that's pretty much paid for my mortgage and all my bills, and bought me clothes and food over the last 2 years or so, the R5. So I guess I can't go wrong in the R5C. That's enough camera talk for today. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do if you can, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care. Bye now.